So it's 1997. I'm working down at Fort Lauderdale at the Hyatt, Pier 66. It's a real upscale hotel and resort. And I'm home. I had to work in the morning, but I'm home the night before. I'm watching this documentary about Mike Tyson's bodyguard, Rudy Gonzalez. And the whole thing talk about how he met Mike Tyson and became his bodyguard, and his driver traveled all around the country with him and took care of all his vehicles, all his Ferraris and limos and everything like that. So that was pretty cool. And the guy, Rudy, had just written this book, The Inner Ring. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I always liked Mike Tyson. So next day I go to work. I'm on the ramp at the hotel. I was the doorman. So I stood out front of the hotel, welcome the guests, and get people, their cars and all kinds of stuff, directions, whatever they needed. I look over, and there's a guy, Rudy, walking up the ramp. I'm like, no way, I just watched the show about him the night before. So I'm like, he comes walking up. I'm like, hey, you're Rudy Gonzalez, aren't you? He's like, yeah, how'd you know? I'm like, there was a documentary on last night on TV, and I watched it about you. He wrote the book, The Inner Ring, and all that. Yeah. He says, I'll come. He goes, I'm starting a new job here. He's a limo driver for this Russian dude, some Russian mobster. And they bought Tyson's old limo, and he drove it back from California. It was crazy. It was a Mercedes limousine. So anyway, I got a few rides in that thing. But so he's like, oh, I'll come back tomorrow morning, and I'll bring you one of my books. He showed up the next day. He brought me the book, The Inner Ring. He signed it, gave me his phone number and stuff. Yeah, I said, talk to him about little things. He told me a couple of stories here and there. He was kind of like a scary dude, to be honest. So I didn't buddy around with him much, but I'd see him at the hotel all the time. And a couple of times, like I had a friend coming into Florida, so I asked the Russian dude like me, so hey, can you go pick my buddy up at the hotel? I mean, at Fort Lauderdale airport. I go from the hotel, so I jump in with him, and my buddy's coming out with his luggage. I jumped out. This not brand new, but real nice Mercedes limousine. Had bulletproof windows and stuff. Anyway, it was bulletproof. I jump out. My buddy's like, no way. I'm like, yeah, come on, let's go. Here's your ride, sir. Pretend like I'm the guy from the hotel. I had the uniform on. Picked him up, drive it back to the streets of Fort Lauderdale. This nice Mercedes limousine. And I went to a Bruins game. The Russian guy, he's like, hey, I'm taking the crew of a yacht, and he said, I'll give you my ticket. Well, he said, pay me the face value, so mucho. But anyway, I was like, I don't care. It was the Bruins. I sat in the owner's seats. I was sitting with Zach Thomas and Larry Izzo. It was just me and those two guys in the row. And then the crew of the yacht in front of us, the Battered Bull. It was I think Steve Forbes' yacht. It's called the Battered Bull. It had a helicopter on it and stuff. But anyway, I went down with those guys, and I sat Larry Izzo and Zach Thomas. I used to see him around a lot. Sometimes Larry Izzo. And then Levon Hernandez, he was like, kept walking by. I had like VIP seats. I could go anywhere I wanted. They had like a back. I had like drinks and food and all kinds of stuff for like if you sat in like the owner's seats. It was at the old Miami arena when the Panthers used to play there. It was funny too. When I went home the next day, they replayed the hockey game, and I kept seeing myself with Larry Izzo and Zach Thomas. But anyway, so that's my Mike Tyson story. And then my buddy was a boxer. I let him borrow the book to read it, and he kept saying he was going to give it back, and he never gave it back. So I'll never see that again anyway. But yeah, it was pretty cool. I had the book. It was interesting to read the book too, and he had all pictures in the book from like all Mike Tyson's cars and like all these different events and stuff they were at, and just traveling around. But anyway, it's a good read if you ever check that book out. You get like some of the inside scoop on like how Don King was screwing Mike Tyson, and Mike Tyson couldn't read, so he didn't know what was going on. But anyway, so that's my what do I call this now? Live stream after dark. But it's not a live stream, it's just a pre-recorded. Anyway, you can figure that one out. Well, it looks good out with that. And then I'm just using my refrigerator to get the light. Pretty clever, huh?